Welcome to another episode of Healthy, Wealthy, and Wise Retirement Podcast, where certified financial planner Loren Sherman shares thoughts on having a healthy mind, body, and spirit, an abundance of wealth inside portfolios and out, and lessons learned from clients and mentors over the years.
Welcome back for another Healthy, Wealthy, and Wise Retirement. Today we are sharing part 2 of my conversation with financial advisor Jason Gunkel. In part 1, we talked about rest and Jason's experience taking a sabbatical, something that has been implemented firm-wide at Syverson Strege. Today we are going to pivot and let Jason highlight some of what his firm does well, the type of clients they work best with, and so on. Once again, the firm Jason is with is called Syverson Strege, located in West Des Moines, Iowa. Some people have mentioned that they thought it was a bit strange to interview competing financial advisory firms, but as I've mentioned in the past, I choose to take the perspective of abundance rather than scarcity. And what I mean by that, there are more than enough people out there listening who would be great clients for our firm, but I also know there are a lot listening who might not be the right fit. Or said in a different way, we might not be the right fit for them. So the thought is that rather than treating everyone like they should become a client, let's find those who we have shared values with and seek to work with a select few versus everyone. For the past several years, this has been reflected on our website as we have 4 other firms that we encourage people to check out. We have no affiliation or financial incentive with these firms. It's just my belief that instead of hiding from our competition, if we shine a spotlight on them and people still choose to go with us, they are going to be that much more confident with their decision and more loyal to stick around for the long run. Just like our last episode, this was recorded in video format, so if you'd like to watch, you may have to jump over to YouTube and find our channel, Healthy, Wealthy, and Wise Retirement. So with that introduction, let's jump back into my conversation with Jason Gunkel. So tell us a little bit about the firm that you're with, Syverson Strege. I was just over there this morning. We have our monthly Kingdom Advisors group. So it's kind of funny that we're doing this by Zoom now because we were just in person an hour ago roughly. But yeah, tell us about your firm over there in West Des Moines.
Yeah, well, I work for a great company and very blessed in that regard. Syverson Strege is the name, started by John Syverson and David Strege in 1997, so over 25 years ago. And they got started in the business a different way. They were selling insurance, and I think we're one of the first companies in Iowa, maybe around the country, to get started what is called a fee-only financial planning business. And what does fee-only really mean? It means that they don't sell any commissionable products. So when people think about financial advisors, they often think about salespeople. And fee-only is another way to collect fees from clients where they pay you directly, kind of more of a flat fee for advice, rather than attached to a particular product.
Sure.
And so John and David were one of the first people to really pioneer that and promote it around the state and around the country. There's a national group called NAPFA that is a fee-only advisor group. And that's what makes us a little bit different, I would say. That's picked up more traction, so it's becoming more common. But I always advise people to seek out an advisor that has less conflict of interest,
right,
when giving advice.
And how, do you know off the top of your head, I looked at your website, it's been a little while ago though, about how big you guys are over there, how many advisors? There's quite a few, right?
Yes, we're up to 8 lead advisors. And then we've got, there's about 6 associate advisors. And then we've got, a great support staff here as well, marketing team, an admin team. And so there's, I think, 23 employees right now at our company. And we help about 550 individuals or families. And so, we're a pretty big company, I guess, in that regard, or a decent size. But we also like to stay focused on who we're helping and provide a high level of service. So we don't have thousands of clients, but
Yeah.
we've got about 550 that we work with.
Okay. Well, that kind of leads right into my next question was the type of client, and I guess I'll say eh, best serve. So, of course, maybe anyone could come into the office and potentially get your services, but who would be maybe the most ideal fit for you guys?
Yeah, you bet. We work with people from a lot of different backgrounds. They could be professionals of many types, business owners. We work with a lot of business owners. We have a decent number of farmers as one of our specialties as well, helping farm families and kind of decide also how to transition their farms to the next generation. But I would just say in general, it's those people that have some complex financial situations. Nobody wants to really say their situation is complex, but those kind of looking to kind of outsource and delegate some of their financial planning to other professionals. And those that really find themselves in some sort of transition. That is really how a lot of people come see us, whether they are transitioning to another phase of life, getting closer to retirement, maybe they're selling a business. But those life transitions can be a big point where people come to see us. And then,
Does
we
that
work. Oh, go ahead.
does that mean sometimes younger, sometimes older? If someone was 35 years old versus 65 years old, would you potentially both of them could be a good fit?
Yes. Usually people, I would say in their early 40s to, you know, late 60s, 70s, 80s.
Yeah,
But really, I think from 40 to 60 is maybe that sweet spot
sure.
for us. And, people that are just looking to be good stewards of their wealth and really benefit themselves, their families, and their communities. We've got really some great tools to be able to help in all those different areas,
Okay,
whether it's passing wealth or values down to the next generation. I think we can be a little more unique in how we help in that.
sure. And I don't know if I forget if your website says this. Is there a specific amount of assets that are needed to kind of that makes sense to work with you guys? Where if you're under it, it's just maybe not a great fit, or
We don't really have a minimum size. And I would just say we have, younger advisors here and then more senior advisors. So we can
okay,
work with a wide range of people here. So I hate to kind of say we would turn away anybody,
gotcha.
um, but I would say, typically it's going to be successful professionals is who we can help the most.
Okay. Well, and it sounds like I was going to ask you about what's really unique about working with the firm, and it sounds you've maybe kind of already touched on that. Um, the family dynamics, maybe getting into beyond just the basic portfolio management, a little bit more into the financial planning, complex situations, estate planning. It sounds like is something, and charitable planning, and I think is something you guys do really well. Is there anything that like very specifically you would say that you specialize in or maybe that's already been said with all of that?
Yeah. I guess the investment side is one of my specialties. I would say one of the areas I get the most satisfaction from is we've got the ability with some successful families to do some pretty neat estate planning. And, estate planning, of course, you want to put all the documents in place and make sure your money is going to transition to the next generation. But it's also about working with them about where they want that money to go, and that's where we can benefit their community through some of these tools in some unique ways. And that chartered advisor and philanthropy designation that I have, when I get to use some of those tools to give money to charity,
Hmm.
that is very satisfying to me as well. So John Syverson is definitely, I have to give him a plug because that was his specialty for his career, is the charitable side of things. He runs the charitable giving resource center right now to specifically help charities and to people give money to charity. And he's been a huge influence on my career and my life. And that's just a component that maybe doesn't get added into a lot of financial plans, that we can really provide some robust strategies there.
Yeah. And sometimes the actual execution may not be all that complex, but the figuring out the why and the where and the stuff like that behind it, having those conversations can be invaluable.
Yeah, absolutely. And those are, we don't get to have those conversations with all clients. But if they want them and want to have those deep conversations, we're just very happy to have them.
So I don't know if you can share anything without like sharing obviously not confidential information, but any stories come to mind where you were really able to help out a client in one way or another with something in particular?
I would say there's kind of several stories that come to mind with some families. And we start when we put together a financial plan for people, we give them a questionnaire that says, if you could give away your money in any way possible, what percentage would you want to give to your kids? What percentage do you want to give to charity? And what percentage do you want to give to the government? Usually that percentage is low.
Right, right.
But we always say you can pick 2 out of the 3. And so you usually get people, focusing on their family and favorite charities.
Okay.
And to see some of that really come to life, where we can put together a plan for people that really takes the tax side out of it and instead shifts it to charity. And I remember, one case, for example, he donated his personal residence to a nonprofit that is using it to help women who were trafficked kind of get back on their feet.
Oh, wow.
And just seeing that whole thing come together and creating some pretty cool charitable trusts along the way that kind of helped him financially, personally, as well as just change the lives of others. It doesn't get much more rewarding than that, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And those are conversations that maybe people are never being asked those questions until you have put those questions in front of them.
Yeah, I think they don't realize some of that's possible. Some of those tools exist, and that they can, that you can also, if you really want to, you can kind of zero out at least your estate taxes. It's harder to do that with income taxes. You can really
Right.
reduce your income taxes, but
Right.
estate taxes, you can get down to 0 if you really want to.
Sure. And I think the important thing there too is that if you don't have a plan, the government's got a backup plan. They have a plan for you. So it's important to put a plan together, because otherwise you're going to by default fall into the government's plan. And if you're having people check 2 of those 3 boxes, they're probably not checking that box, is my guess, very often. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a great point. And there's a lot of people don't want to do that planning during life because it can be hard to make those decisions and to do that planning work, but
Yeah.
you can certainly be rewarded for it. And we want to really avoid family conflict. We don't want there to be surprises when somebody passes away and the family doesn't realize, what was part of the estate plan and what was, our parents' intent through all this. We want to include the next generation to the extent possible, just to get everybody on the same page.
Tough conversation where maybe the money's not going where the kids would love it to go, or at least maybe not percentage wise. It's a conversation that it's worth having, that tough conversation while everyone's still living versus
Yes.
later. Yeah.
And usually we're not going to disinherit anybody, but it's letting them know, like, you're very important to me as a child, and I'm going to give you a good amount of wealth. But I just have confidence in you that you can be a successful person. And at the same time, I'm going to help this charity that I really am passionate about as well.
Yeah. That's a good framing. Frame it as, hey, I believe in you and your success. I'm not going to give you quite as much of a percentage.
Yeah. And usually they're very well taken care of. And in best case scenario, they're part of that next generation of charitable planning as well.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is I have a lot of clients that are really well off, and they often, when we get into estate planning conversations, they'll say that their kids are better off than they are. So, yeah, that makes sense that charities could make up a good percentage of their planning in those cases.
Yes, for sure.
So, you're going to be starting a podcast of your own, or maybe you haven't hit record quite yet. Is that right?
We've got everything in place, except recording an episode. So we're just about to launch it. And it's a coworker of mine, and she's also a member of the Kingdom Advisors that we spoke of briefly earlier. And it's really about, so the name of it is Prayers and Profits.
Oh, I like that.
And the theme of it is finding God with your wealth and also in your work. And it's bringing those biblical principles to money management. And I think, we still see, firsthand how money causes a lot of stress in people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
And we really just want to alleviate that stress. The Bible has a lot to say about money. I think I read somewhere that Jesus spoke 15% of Jesus's teaching was about money. And I think that was for a reason, because, it can cause stress, it can cause problems in our lives. And so, Jesus had a lot to say about it. We can take control of our money and really manage it the way God wants us to, in a way that's going to create freedom in our lives and give us a lot of peace.
Yeah, that's interesting. We were just talking about that this morning, of how viewing your own resources as you're being a steward of God's money instead of your own makes that reframing makes it different how you'd spend it and who you serve with those dollars.
Yeah, I
So,
think that might be our episode 1, which is, the reframing of that and kind of getting your heart right, seeing things from God's perspective, which is way easier said than done. Of course, that's a personal experience for some that takes a long time. But we at least kind of want to share that message with the general public.
right. Well, if your podcast isn't quite ready to go by the time this one goes live, I'll come back and I'll link it in the show notes after the fact, so people will be able to find you guys there. And you said the name of it again, Prayer and Profits.
Yeah, Prayers and Profits.
Prayers and Profits. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, thank you so much for promoting it. I'm sure we will find a way to have you on our podcast as well.
Yeah. We have a lot of great conversations in that Kingdom Advisors. I'm sure there's never a shortage of things to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a long list, and so we just got to get started.
Yeah. Well, and I may break this episode in this conversation into 2 episodes. I like to try to keep them right around 20, 30 minutes or so. Sometimes I do a good job of that, sometimes not. But anything that we didn't touch on that you wanted to cover? I know we've kind of covered a wide range here.
I think that's about it for me, but
okay.
It's been very fun to be on here, and a blessing. And so I hope we can bless others as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And after you guys have a few episodes, maybe we'll circle back and have another conversation. Who knows?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Hey, it's Loren here again. Thank you for joining the conversation today, and be sure to check out the show notes to learn more about Jason and the firm Syverson Strege. And as far as our firm, Integrity Wealth Management, you can click on the link titled Share More and Get in Touch, as this will direct you to a few short questions and allow you to schedule a time on our calendar if you want to take that first step and connect with us. Check out integrityguidance.com to not only view all of our past episodes, but we have designed the website to address many of the questions that someone seeking a financial advisor might have. We have one tab titled Our Team that discusses the importance of working with a fiduciary. It has a photo and bio for each of our team members, and you can read up on each of the financial designations, which are all those letters behind an advisor's name. We have another tab titled Services that highlights some of the main problems we help retirees solve. You can view our 6-step process, so if you do decide to schedule a call with us, you have a better idea of what to expect. And wrapping up the Services tab, we have a bullet point list of the type of people that our firm works best with, as well as a link to those 4 other financial firms in the cases that we might not be a good match. And the last tab I will mention on our website is titled Fee Structure. In one section, we lay out what we believe to be the problem with traditional planning fees. In another section, we discuss our solution to this problem. And then finally, in the third section, we highlight how much our fee is, when we charge it, and if we have any minimum requirements. I thought I would take just a moment to highlight those 3 tabs of Our Team, Services, and our fee structure, since I typically only mention the podcast tab on our website. But we've shared a lot of other helpful information, and it's all with the goal of being as transparent and forthright as possible. That will wrap things up for today, and we will be back again in 2 weeks. God bless.
Thank you so much for listening and supporting this podcast. If you've enjoyed listening, we would love if you took a quick moment to leave an honest review. Of course, we're shooting for 5 stars, but if you have suggestions to improve the show, we would love to hear from you too. Just click on the podcast name, Healthy, Wealthy, and Wise Retirement Podcast, and scroll down to ratings and review. Thanks again for your support, as this helps us reach a wider audience and help even more retirees just like you. This podcast is for entertainment and informational purposes only and is not intended as a specific tax, legal, or investment advice. Loren Sherman is a certified financial planner and co-owner of Integrity Wealth Management, an investment advisor serving retirees in search of their own healthy, wealthy, and wise retirement lifestyle.